Welcome to the OC Politics Show, keeping politics bipartisan, local, and on the level.
Welcome to the OC Politics Show. I'm Joe Matthews.
And I'm Todd DeVoe.
To be a Republican or a Democrat, do we feel let down right now? The rising political party in Orange County right now is the Independent. Why, after just a few election cycles, has the Democrats and the Republicans in Orange County have become such a cause for disappointment? Now, news headlines.
Is the Republican Party imploding?
The debates are a no-go. Election cycle. Can we blame COVID?
And Americans say they have political views are afraid to share.
It's okay to be gay in Irvine, finally.
The political whip around. So the wise men of Chapman have spoken. Are they right? So, Joe, the other day on the Voice of OC, there was an article that was posted by two Chapman professors, one Republican or one at least conservative and one liberal, and stating how the Republican Party is going away. And interestingly enough, some of the facts that they wrote on there, according to Don Wagner, who is a Republican supervisor here in Orange County, were not exactly right. And the one I want to point out, which I found kind of funny, goes into the concept of the Orange County's Central Committee. So they wrote, I guess, that the Orange County Republican Party Central Committee is a Republican-dominated board. I would assume that the Democratic political party board is dominated by Democrats. Would that be the case?
See, I read that different. I couldn't find Central Party in the article itself. I knew that they were referring to the Board of Supervisors, which is Republican. I think it's a misappropriation of that political word.
Of committee?
It was not referencing to the committee. It was referencing to the Board of Supervisors. That's why I think Don Wagner, I think he made a mistake just as much as those guys made mistakes.
So that being said, if the let me rephrase that. If the Orange County Board of Supervisors is dominated by Republicans, so much so that LA County's board is dominated by Democrats, right? I mean, if that's what the people who are voting want, doesn't matter.
Does it matter?
Yeah.
What matters? I missed you.
I'm saying if the people who are voting for these supervisors to go in are choosing Republicans, who cares?
Right.
I mean, it's like saying the state of California, for instance, is Democrat supermajority. The Republican Party in California overall is a dead party, right? I mean, we're pretty much a one-party state.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you take a look at it, and that's what cracks me up when we start talking about issues that are happening statewide, that when the Democrats still come out and blame the Republicans, it's like the Republicans have zero power in the state of California. There is a little bit left here in Orange County, and like we just said in the beginning, that the Republicans are losing ground in Orange County anyway. More people are moving independent, and that being said, more people statewide are moving independent. Why is that? Both parties have some serious issues that they need to overcome, but still, it's a Democrat-led state with Democrat-led policies, with Democrat-led at the state level, completely 100%. So I don't understand. Even if the Board of Supervisors in Orange County is dominated by Republicans, and that's who the people who are voting in, what's the? I don't see the.
Well, maybe you're let down by what's going on in the state by Democrats, but I think what's going on nationally with the Republicans is what's kind of dragging things down. Obviously, I mean, it's you're going to talk about an article about how we're afraid to mention in public who we believe in, and when people say they're a Trump supporter, it's not so favorable for them, and vice versa sometimes.
Yeah, that's I mean, if you want to jump into that, which is kind of our, well, I mean, let's move into the debates first. So, I mean, this actually kind of plays into it. So now you're saying we have Republicans that are still trying to hold on to issues here in Orange County. That being said, there are some Democrats who are running for Congress, if you want to talk about national, that are in risk of losing their seat as their freshmen. This is when they're most vulnerable coming into their second election. And it looks like we have two, one from Huntington Beach and one here from, well, they're not Orange County, but they represent Orange County, from Diamond Bar, that are at risk of losing their seat. What does that say about that, and about the elections, and about the polls?
Well, the Orange County Register did a pretty good job kind of letting us know that there are no debates being planned right now. I think one or two campaigns out of all the Democratic led congressional polls, which there's 5 of them, and they all have a Democratic incumbent, and but none of them are jumping the gun here and making things happen. I mean, when you look at the 48th congressional district, which is freshman Democrat Harley Rowdy, he actually wrote a letter to Michelle Steele. Here it is, saying he wanted 8 debates, and Michelle has not responded to that whatsoever. It might be
who's leading the polls.
It's it's kind of even. It's a little left leaning, they say, in the polls, but the fact that she hasn't even responded. Now, what I thought was like low blow was Lance Trover, who is the campaign manager, made this statement and accused Rhoda of being more focused on crafting debate letters 4 months before the election instead of working on bipartisan compromise in DC to help the OC community. So it's like that. I'm disappointed with political parties because now they're nickel and diming each other. And now these people are deciding the fate. Now close your eyes. Now remind yourself of that 9th grade presidential election at your junior high, and whoever won was going to decide what was going to go into the cafeteria and what soft drinks we're gonna have. Remember that times? Remember those beautiful times? Remember all those beautiful movies where they'd have that great debate and great movies that have been centered around a debate. And now we don't even have the choice to go to one or see one because people are choosing just to say no. Now that was that's just 48. Now 49 with Mary Cott as a challenger. They've been asking Mike Levin's people since last August, to debate. Now they actually have agreed to meet in early October. So we might have one in October. It's the only one, but they're looking for an independent panel and they want to make it sure it's safe from the pandemic. Now with Gil Cisneros and young Kim, they have not even mentioned a wink of it. So it's like, we're just not going to have one. Just let it go.
It's odd because for congressional candidates, historically, has been speaking, debates aren't really one of the things they normally do. And what you normally see is the ones that are losing, right? The ones that are behind in the polls are the ones that ask for the debate because they feel they can make rounds. And so the person who's leading the poll, it doesn't benefit them at all to go to the debate. Which I hate that actually, but it just seems to be that's what it has been over the years in that way.
That's exactly what Scott Spitzer said. He's a political science teacher at Fullerton. He was saying that you won't see a Katie Porter go for any kind of politics or any kind of debates because she's so strong and she doesn't have to put herself out there and risk being out there with against Greg Rath. So
yeah, absolutely. It doesn't make sense from the only way that I see debates coming out from, at least on the congressional side, is going to be if the people of the districts rise up and say, hey, if we don't hear you, we're not going to vote for you. But the thing is, what the two political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, what they like to see realistically, as much as they deny this, right, is political apathy is benefits them, because what occurs is that most people who at some point in their life has chosen a party for other, when you're in high school, you chose to be a Democrat. And so I'm a lifelong Democrat and I'm only going to vote for D's. I don't care who they are, what they do. I'm just going to go down. I don't even listen to anybody. As long as they have a D behind their name, I'm going to vote for them. And Republicans do the same thing. Lifelong Republican. I'm just going to vote for the R's, party ticket down the line. That's what they hope for. And so what the political strategy is at this point is just to send a bunch of crappy mailers out. They'll look for some hit pieces. They'll hold on to those hit pieces, and they won't mail them out unless they need to. And if they feel they're slipping in the polls, boom, there goes the hit piece. Did you know that Joe Matthews smoked pot when he was in the 9th grade? Goes out and oh my gosh, I'm not going to vote for that guy. So say again.
It was 7th grade.
Oh, sorry. So politically incorrect facts right there. But the thing is that that's just the way politics have been played for years. Now, I see a shift in this, and I see the shift going to because of Twitter, and I should because of this has been. I mean, Obama has shown how social media was unbelievably powerful in political campaigns, right? I mean, his campaign can be accredited to his great social media presence, right? If you're a political scientist, you take a look at these things and you can see this is going on. But social media seems to be where you can make headway, but it's ugly on social media these days as well.
Yeah. I think this is interesting, but I wanted to read these terms that Harley Ruda insisted on in order to have these 8. He actually offered to have 8 different debates. Let's see, and at least 2 of the debates had to be facing the Vietnamese and the Latinx, Latinx. It's Latin.
I don't understand it.
Latinx, I'm sorry if I offended communities respectively, but it said the debates will be free and open to the public. Constituents will physically attend the debates only if deemed safe under COVID-19 prevention safety measures. Debates will be brought to a larger public through television or live streaming services. Each candidate will attend each in person with COVID-19 measures in place. No 3 debates will occur within the same city limits. Moderators, it will be neutral and mutually agreed upon. And topics of each debate will be mutually agreed upon. So this letter went out on the 14th to follow up on a letter from May 26th. And like I told you, what the response was, that this was actually attacked for what it is. It's just
by the way, Joe, you can say Latino because that's the official Spanish way of saying it. I don't know what the X thing is.
Latino X. Well, it's just
no, I know what it is. I know why they're doing it, but it's not proper. It's not proper Spanish.
It's the collective Latin, because not everyone's from Latin America or not everyone's from Spain, so it's kind of an inclusive Spanish speaking community that they try to get together. But okay. I'm assuming you disagree with all that.
I'm just saying. I don't disagree with it.
But this is the thing I want to do, Todd.
Okay.
These congressional people, we don't want them to hide. We want to know what they're going to put in the cafeteria. So I want to challenge all these Democratic politicians and Republicans alike to a debate. We can have it right here at OC Politics. We have the technology, right? Brian, our great producer, he can figure it out. You don't even have to do anything from you can do this from your home. You can do it from your bathroom. We just need you to show up and we want to know who you are. I think that's only fair that we get to vote on people that we understand and like and know and respect. So right now, hiding doesn't help you, and refusing it doesn't help you. It just makes us even more disappointed. Absolutely. To be part of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party.
Hey, you know what? I mean, I tell you this much. What I'd like to see here is debates here between the Republicans, the Democrats, and libertarians, right? They're running out there too. And I think what happens is that the both of the major parties are doing everything they could possibly do to crush the independent or libertarian candidates that are coming up, because they fear them, right? The parties fear them, right? I mean, if you take a look at what's going on, we just said at the beginning of this show that the Republicans and Democrats are both losing members to the independents. The independent, right, is either anything who's not Republican or Democrat, right, are the largest segment of the electoral body in the nation, right? All together, 47% have declared themselves independent, right? And that's out of all three. So if you take a look at all three segments, Republicans, Democrat, Independent, 47% of the nation has declared themselves as independent. You know, could you imagine that those 47% voted third party?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just amazes me that people go, "Oh, you're throwing your vote away. You're throwing your vote away if you vote third party." You know, realistically, vote your conscience. Don't vote for the R or the D. Both sides will go, "Oh, you're throwing your vote away." If 47% of the nation actually stood up and voted and said, "Hey, we're going to vote for Joe," right? Let's vote Jo Jorgensen, right? We had her on the show here. She's very, very articulate, very weighty. You know, she's better than both Donald Trump and Joe Biden when she comes to her facts. You know, she doesn't stumble over herself, right? She seems to the only woman running on a major ticket here, right? You know, so I mean, think about that, right? But they won't even let her in the national debates.
Yeah. What's coming in on our Facebook feed, Todd?
Oh, a bunch of stuff. We got a lot of people talking over here right now. You know, so I mean, that's kind of cool. So, you know, you just keep reading those things down there. Yeah, you're right. One of the debate locations sent for me email to get Howie and Joe on the debate stage. The voices need to be heard. Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, Norris talking, that's the national, right? That's not necessarily talking about the idea of the local politics here. But you know what? Let's talk about polls for a second. And this is what really kind of scares me a little bit here about things that are happening throughout the nation. So Cato just did a poll on the how people feel politically. How can they really speak their minds? And self-censorship is occurring. And so a new Cato National Survey finds that self-censorship is on the rise in the United States. Nearly 2/3, 62% of Americans say that the political climate these days prevents them from saying the things they believe that others might find them offensive. 62% of the people polled just said they're not going to share information or share their political views anymore. Now, this is where it gets me kind of scares the crap out of me, right? That there are, I'm looking for the numbers here. It was like 52. Oh, here it is. It was like 52% of liberals feel that if you give money to the Trump campaign or to conservative political views, that you should be fired. Right? It's like 30% of conservatives feel the same way, giving it to left campaigns or to Biden. Feel it should be. When I shouldn't say when, I guess 2017, according to this article. But I mean, like, we started as a nation to want people to lose their jobs because of who they want to vote for. What the freaking is up with that?
You know, I just remember as a kid, it's like, don't talk politics, don't talk religion. It was always taboo. When you went over to someone's house, that those are the things that you don't talk about. Or traveling abroad, right? You don't talk politics and you don't talk religion, just to keep yourself out of trouble, right? And now if you do, you lose your job. It's just crazy.
I mean, we're in this cancel culture, right? And it's so funny because the people who don't think that we're in a cancel culture are the ones that want to cancel people. I mean, they literally say this, right? And people, they boycott this, they boycott that. They don't want to go to Chick-fil-A because the owner of Chick-fil-A, or the guy, not the owner, the well, I guess the owner of the French, because most of those are independent franchise, they owned restaurants. But the guy who started Chick-fil-A, is a Christian conservative guy and has given money to Christian conservative political views. And so they're like, hey, let's boycott them because of their political views, right? Let's boycott this because of their, let's boycott Starbucks because of their leftist political views. It's like, holy smokes. I mean, like, my dad owned restaurants, the same type of thing. He would never put in his window who he was supporting, like a campaign sign or anything like that. Basically because of that same thing. So I guess that it's been around for a bit, but the fact that you want to like make people lose their livelihood over politics is just, it just blows my mind. That being said, and the thing that I think is interesting too is that people, 50% of strong liberals support firing Trump. That's what it is. 36 support. I'm sorry, I gave two more percent to that. 36% support firing Biden donors. But the thing that I find really interesting about this entire thing is that that liberals feel that they have the ability, and I'm looking for the statistic number, have the ability to share their political views more than conservatives do. 32% worry that their political views could harm their employment, that they could get fired from doing that. Republicans with the most education are worried mostly that their political views could harm them at work, where Democrats feel that they don't have educated Democrats feel that they don't have to worry about their political views at work. I mean, it's interesting that this whole study came out. If you want, it's in the study, by the way. If you want to read everything, is in our show notes below. But it's interesting that the Republicans or conservative views, they kind of go back and forth on this thing. So I'm not sure who's who or what. But they feel that those with conservative views feel that they cannot share their political views, where those with liberal views feel that they could do whatever they want to do, an overwhelming majority of them. Now, I find that kind of funny because I would say that's probably a shift from the way it was probably 30, 40 years ago, right? So I don't know. I don't know if people were getting fired over political views back, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I was too young to understand that, I guess, but maybe they were. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think people are still protected in government. If people found out your political affiliation, as long as you kept it to yourself. But even on the private sector, you don't have those protections. If you're at what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
I lost it. So anyway, in the private sector, you don't have those same kind of privileges. But there's a guy at your job that's spouting, the second coming, and he's loud about it, and he's disturbing other people about it. Then yeah, I think it becomes a problem.
I think that's a different. I think that's a different case. If there's a and I wasn't going to share this because I haven't been able to check completely the facts on it. But according to a couple of news reports, there was a teacher that was fired for a couple of tweets, and they seem to be pretty benign. They were in support of Trump, in kind of like in a general way, not necessarily I support Donald Trump, but more along the lines of, hey, we need to respect the president. He was a social study teacher at a high school, and then they according to him, and the New York Post, Washington Post both put this out, that they according to him, he got called in on a Zoom meeting twice, and they gave him the choice of either resigning or being fired. The school has denied that was the reason why they did that. They didn't deny that the guy is no longer an employee there. However, that's why I said the school's denying it completely. And so, but going with this poll here, and going with this story from this particular one teacher and all the anecdotal evidence, it seems like this might be the truth. There's a little debate going on right now on the Facebook page, I believe, and it's talking about yeah, it's talking about things going on, states' rights versus federal rights and stuff like this. I know that we have trying to stay super local here, but what do you think? What do you think of this? Here's a right here talking about the sending federal agents to cities to protest. 10th Amendment is the right of the state to protect the citizens and create laws that apply to every state. Going into that debate there, when does the federal government like overstep its bounds? And look at Portland, for instance, or potentially, the federal issues that are here in Orange County, right? So the Ronald Reagan building, for instance, in Orange County, does the federal government have the right to defend that property and start going into town and arresting citizens? That's a debate that we could have later, everybody. But I think it's something that we can talk about there in the near future. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, definitely.
So, speaking of that and protests, what's happening in Huntington Beach?
Huntington Beach. Well, sadly, our thoughts and prayers are with 11 police officers that have come down with COVID, and there's a civilian officer as well that's included. Now, City Hall has been closed down temporarily because 33, and I think that's 33 total city employees, including the force, has closed down City Hall. And this is the irony is dripping with these guys putting their lives on the line out there on Main Street in Huntington Beach, letting these people that don't believe that we should be wearing masks have their protests. And I don't know if they're having it as much as they were in the very beginning about 2 months ago, but now they're paying the price. And I think it's just sad.
And that's, although it's interesting you say that, because it's not just the people in Huntington Beach that are increasing with the protest to COVID. Looks like all the protests, even the George Floyd ones, the anti-police protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, these have all led to spikes in these areas of COVID. So, I mean, it's funny that in New York City, and that they said, hey, we're going to shut down all these protests, all these things I'm sorry, not protests, all these things you can't do. And then the mayor came out and specifically said, but if you want to do a pro Black Lives Matter rally or protest, you're allowed to do that. But everything else is shut down. I mean, he literally chose who is allowed to protest and not protest. That's a side note. But yeah, you're seeing this across the country that that we have an increase in COVID in areas that have higher protest levels and demonstrations. I guess it makes sense. You're out there yelling, you don't have your mask on, and you're spreading the disease.
And if you're a police officer who's supporting the fact of not wearing a mask, just one mouth to another, one less than 6 feet doesn't matter.
Joe, you and I both ran rescue ambulances back in the day, right?
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you remember when we had the whole SARS scare.
Double
masking up on every call, every hospital came up with box masks like they're doing now, and the hand sanitizer. By the way, everybody, those hand sanitizer machines are all over the place. That all came out of that whole SARS and MERS issues, right? The Middle East respiratory issue and the severe acute respiratory, right? SARS and MERS. So those things there. So, I mean, infectious disease spreads. We know it spreads. We're all in this COVID fight together. I just be smart, when you go out there and I know masks have become a political statement. I don't understand how that became a political statement, but it is. It just makes sense. It's like Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's I don't know how masks became political, and they are. So
Well, the president now feels it's patriotic to wear a mask finally. Now he does.
right.
Now it's patriotic. Before it wasn't, but now it is.
Right. Brett goes in and says federal buildings can be protected by federal employees, or can protect. Yeah, it can be protected by federal employees, but only the property that extended out to that. And he says he does feel sorry. Oh, it's up there on the thing. He does feel sorry for our police officers who have to deal with this problem that's sweeping the nation: the violence, the rioting, and the vandalism against free speech. It negates any positive influence that's supposed to come from it. And you know what, Brett? I agree with you on that. I do have some issues in Portland where the federal officers are going out and they're grabbing people away from the protest. I understand why they're doing it. And my first intent, my I was talking to some people about this. I said I really wish that they were coordinating with local PD to go grab those people off the street when they're that far away from the federal buildings. And I found out today in an article that the Portland Police Department, or not the Portland Police Department, the mayor of Portland and the administration will not allow coordination between federal agencies and local and the Portland Police Department. So
Yeah,
the federal,
so with pepper spray, that helps.
well, I mean, I don't think it was. Yeah. Anyways, it's besides. But the thing is there's no coordination going on, and so that's why it's a mess in Portland right now, and that is what it is. You know, I have to say this though, and I don't know what the definition of peaceful is any longer, because everybody keeps talking about the peaceful protesters in Portland. If that's peaceful, I would hate to see what the definition of not peaceful is, because holy crap, you know, shooting fireworks at police officers, shooting lasers in their eyes, trying to burn down buildings, ripping fences down, you know, taking hammers to the building to rip off the protective wood and stuff like that. I wouldn't really call that peaceful. Now, you know, I know that I've seen peaceful protests, you know, I've had some friends whose kids have been involved in the peaceful protests where they literally chanted and did some stuff and did speeches and, you know, yay for my side, you know, down with bad people. Right. I get that. But I think that some of the actions that are happening in Portland right now, that is not peaceful protesting. I know we're kind of stepping away from the Orange County aspect of things, but I just needed to say I don't know what the definition of peaceful is anymore. And I guess doing those things is peaceful. Joe, I'm gonna let you finish off the rest of the show, and I'll shut my mouth.
All right, we're going to change gears for a second and focus on the city of Irvine, who have become progressive by taking the anti-gay laws off their books. Back in June of 15, June 15th, the Supreme Court ruled that lesbian, gay, transgender people were protected from employment discriminatory under federal rights law. Well, that spurred on Melissa Fox and Farrakhan, council people from the Irvine City Council to take away those laws that have been on the books for so long. So we applaud Irvine for their progressiveness, and congratulations. You can walk freely in the city of Irvine. Now, actually, Irvine's been a pretty gay friendly town. It's just that it was just time to get these things off the books. So it's more symbolic than actual, discrimination.
I do have a question for you though. So is gay rights progressive or is it libertarian?
I'd say it's libertarian.
Yeah. Libertarians have been fighting that cause since the 70s. So anyway. All right, Joe. So what do we got coming up?
I don't know, man. What did you have coming up?
Well, I can tell you.
You threw me for a loop there. Are we expecting something down the road that we were going to talk about?
No, I'm just asking you what you have coming up.
Oh, what I have coming up in general?
Yeah.
Spend time with my kids. Is that what you mean?
Sure. Yeah. You know, I mean, like
I'm scheduling Democratic debates from here to October. I'm going to let it be the only thing I work on the side. So if any campaign managers want a nice, open, free way of doing it, cheap, with the expansive audience of OC politics, come talk to me.
Absolutely. Let's get some debates on here. I think it would be great to have some political candidates on here, really well managed as far as the we're gonna let you speak, and we can, if you start talking over each other, we can mute you out and stuff like that. So that's exciting stuff. On my end, I am still working on this project of the Little Free Library, and if anybody knows how to make a door for the Little Free Library, please PM me, because I'm running into some serious my woodworking skills have been set to its limit. So there's that. So I'm trying to give back to the community in that way. And everybody, I really do appreciate everything and the comments in here. Brett, don't worry about it. You did not hijack our show. And so I think maybe next week we should talk about what are the roles of the local PD compared to the federal police department right here in Orange County, and how everybody interacts with each other. And we'll be also looking at other things going on here in Orange County. And if you guys have any political events coming up, please let us know. We'd like to share those out there. And I do want to say one thank you. And it's an organization we scour the news, we look at the news, we look at the Orange County Register, and the Voice of OC has been doing a lot of great work here in Orange County, sharing political stuff. And so keep up the good work, both our Orange County Register and the Voice of OC. We appreciate everything.
They're a nonprofit, and they would love your contribution.
And please don't forget to take a look at us on your favorite podcast player. Join us here every Monday at 8 o'clock on Facebook and on YouTube.